Central Africa, where Gabon's transitional Prime Minister, Raymond Ndong Sima, has announced a transitional government through a speech on television. Ndong Sima, the 68-year-old Paris-educated economist, served as Prime Minister under Bongo from 2012 to 2014 before becoming a critic and competing against him in the 2016 and 2023 presidential campaigns. During his inauguration speech, Oligui had vowed to hold free, transparent and credible elections to restore civilian rule, but did not give a time frame. General Oligui Nguema said the country would also drop a new constitution drafted with representatives from all key groups, which would be more respectful of democracy and human rights and submitted to a referendum.
Par décret du président de la transition, chef de l'État, et sur proposition du Premier ministre, chef du gouvernement de la transition. Le gouvernement de la transition est composé ainsi qu'il suit. Premier ministre, chef du gouvernement de la transition, M. Raymond Ndong Sima. Ministre. Ministre de la réforme des institutions, Madame Muriel Mikwe, épouse Minta. Ministre des Affaires étrangères, chargé de l'intégration sous-régionale et des Gabonais de l'étranger, Monsieur Régis Onanga Ndiaye. Ministre de la Justice, garde des Sceaux, porte-parole du gouvernement.
Now, joining us to have a better understanding of the situation in Gabon, we have Raymond Ndong Sima, an international policy expert who joins from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. One welcome to you, Leonard, and thanks for joining us on the news. Leonard, could you kindly unmute your device? Now, Leonard, let's start by examining Gabon's interim Prime Minister, Raymond Ndong Sima, who was a prominent opponent to ousted President Ali Bongo Odimba. Could we actually say that the coup plotters are working in the interest of the people, or they're just trying to buy time and legitimacy by the appointment of a Prime Minister? And yeah. Apologize for that. We hope to reconnect. Okay, we have Leonard back. So, Leonard, I'll repeat my initial question. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, Leonard, let's talk about the interim Prime Minister, Raymond Ndong Sima, who was a prominent opponent to ousted President Ali Bongo Odimba. He's contested in 2 elections, and the junta has now appointed him as Prime Minister. Would you say, what do you make of this? Would you say the junta is trying to buy some level of legitimacy? And what do you make of this appointment? Is it a political game?
Yes, I think it's a fight for legitimacy of the military junta. Of course, you know that all over the world, military rule is outlawed. So, but in this case, you know the peculiarity of Gabon. The ousted president has been there for years. You know, he even, to me, he committed treason even against the constitution of Gabon by running for a 3rd term. Looking at the background of his family, it's a dynasty. It was a dynasty. So the current prime minister now that has just been sworn in, it was a key opposition leader. So you can say that the military junta, of course, appointing the prime minister is a kind of opposition coming to power. So I think they are looking for legitimacy. But the interesting thing is that the way the world reacted to the takeover, Gabon takeover, military takeover, is quite different from that of DJ. Because here it's a kind of overthrow of the dynasty of the ousted president.
Now, Leonard, Gabon seems to have taken another step compared to other military-controlled African countries that you just affirmed in your previous statement. They've named a transitional government. They've also put a timeline to this government. They said in 2 years we'll restore democracy. What's your take on this? Do you think they could be held to this promise? And do you think the military leaders in Gabon will stick to that transitional timeline? Because, you know, power is really sweet. It's not something that people would reluctantly let go of.
Yes, I think they will stick to it. They know that their coming to power is for correctional purpose. So if they overstay in office, of course, there will be pressure all over the world.
I like what you said. Sorry to interrupt you, Leonard. I like what you said about correctional purposes. You know, restore democratic order, have a new constitution. Is 2 years enough time to do that?
Well, I think 2 years is quite enough time, because if you don't do it within 2 years, you end up doing 4 years, 5 years, and before you know, it will be another version of dictatorship. So for me, it just for them to, they already have a good constitution as far as I'm concerned. You know, no, let me quickly say this. I've been a commissioner in the Law Reform Commission for a while. See, the problem in Africa is not the laws, but it's the implementation of these laws. Now, they had a constitution that, with a term limit, just that the ousted president altered it. Now, the constitution is already in place, just to tinker with it, that, okay, let us have a fixed term, or maybe just like the case we have in Nigeria, 4 years each, then 2 terms maximum. Of course, if they do that and allow free participation, of course, there's nothing so special for them not to run the transition within 2 years. But I must say that you equally know that politics is local. Now, the opposition too, they have to be very careful, because if they engage in this vendetta, trying to strangulate the ousted regime and bringing out draconian laws to guard against people participating in the fresh transition, that would be another challenge. So for correctional purposes, that this coup is kind of welcome within the Gabonese and of course the international community to a large extent, because whether we like it or not, despite the criticism about the coup, to a large extent it was a welcome to them, because it was a dictatorship, it was a civilian dictatorship. And quickly, permit me to say this, that good governance is a key word. In all of these African countries, you look at Cameroon here, look at Uganda, even Rwanda, they have been, you just have civilian dictatorship. So when you talk about, when we criticize this military takeover, let's look at good governance. This civilian government, do they deliver good governance, or they just perpetuate themselves in power? Those are very critical issues when we look at international analysis.
Does the name just being democratic, is it enough to just give you the get out of jail free card to do as you want and not provide good governance? Now, finally, Leonard, before I let you go, the African Union suspended Gabon a few days after the coup, but the junta leaders seem to be digging in, and they're not disturbed by this suspension. What other stringent measures do you think should be taken by the African Union to discourage coups in Africa and to ensure that the democratic government is restored in the country? And do you think, I mean, we've seen the French ambassador, he attended the swearing-in of General Ngema. Is Mr. Ali Bongo gone for good? Do you think constitutional democracy will be restored to Gabon anytime soon? Is it a possibility, or it's just a pipe dream? Yeah.
I think what the African Union needs to do quickly is to, incidentally, I consult for the African Union, is to look at which good governance and set a landmark. No, you do not have to say that, for instance, I'm not inciting any citizen of Cameroon or Uganda or Rwanda or all those countries that you have to sit tight, Guinea-Bissau and the rest. When somebody has been in power for 20, 30, 40 years, do we really call that democracy? Now, African Union has to come up with a platform. Like, for instance, we have a fifth tenure in Nigeria, of course, with regular elections, despite the imperfections here and there. But then that's a yardstick. Now, in Gabon, what the African Union needs to do is to put pressure on the coup leaders. Like, okay, you've given us 2 years tenure, you stick with that 2-year transition period, and that is the landmark. But critically speaking, and for the want of emphasis, the issue of good governance in Africa is a bane of our development. So leadership problem is having this civilian dictatorship, whether it is a dynasty or monarchy, where somebody will perpetuate himself for a long tenure in office, and then when there's a military coup, condemn that military coup. So we must, as African Union or as a continent, come out with a platform that you cannot continue to perpetuate yourself in office, and you think that the African Union will be that umbrella for you to hide, and when the people will vote against you, you now start talking about military coup.
Thank you very much. Leonard Anyongo, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you on the news this evening. Thanks for your time and your insight.
It's my pleasure, Benga. Thank you for having me again.